Yeah, how are we transforming? I talked a bit about this morning because what we're starting to do is we know that the way in which government engages with Aboriginal communities is changing. It's already changed. We've seen that through programs like Closing the Gap. We now have direct partnerships between peak bodies and governments. We're both at the table making decisions. And we have programs like local decision making, which is about bringing the voice of local community to the table who have a say in how policies or programs are designed and developed and delivered. And they're actually part of the delivery of those programs. So it's a very, very different model to the government has its budget, it goes and runs its programs, and then it does it to citizens rather than with them. And so that shift has started and it's in its early stages, still a long way to go. And as I said this morning, when we think about voice, treaty and truth-telling, that's very much about agreement making, about decision making in a very, very different way in which we've done that. So the way in which we're transforming is we're looking at ourselves. How do we set our organisations or our organisation up for success, where we go back to revisiting our vision, our purpose, our strategic priorities, getting the right structure in place that can actually deliver on the goals that we have. Well, priority projects at the moment for us are really those that we've got long-term commitments. So Closing the Gap is a long-term commitment. Of course, we've had a change in government, and the focus there is the government has come in with a mandate for treaty. And so this early days of treaty, we will wait until the outcome of the voice later on this year. And then we'll progress through treaty engagement, if you like, initially, probably for the first sort of 12 months that will change. We're a very diverse organisation. We run a number of different programs. So one of the programs where there's current reform happening is Aboriginal culture and heritage reforms. So we're working towards standalone legislation for Aboriginal culture and heritage, where again, self-determination is a big part of the work that we do, and in particularly in the Aboriginal culture and heritage space, it's about Aboriginal people being the decision makers, the oversights of the Aboriginal culture and heritage, and having a direct say with standalone legislation. At the moment, it's older legislation that's buried within a national parks legislation, and our goal is to take that out and have standalone legislation. So they're kind of two big programs that we're running. The other program, which is also part of a long-term unfinished business for government, is the stolen generations. And the reparation scheme is coming to an end, but there's still lots more work to do with our survivors. Well, I think was that sort of government collaboration and talking about sort of platforms. One of the challenges in government is that we hold an enormous amount of data and information. We don't share that across government very well, and we certainly don't share that with our citizens very well. So this morning I touched on data sovereignty and what that actually means. So engaging again, if we are in partnership with communities, how does community get access to the data that the government has collected on them, about them, and then they're at the table with that data to be able to make decisions that they are front and centre, they are part of making those decisions. They also have their own data that they collect themselves at a community level. How do they use that in a way and share that by coming together with government? And of course, we're at the beginning of that. We've got a long, long way to go. And I think to the heart of that is government's reluctance in some ways and historically around sharing, not just across government, but with communities. And we've always been reluctant to do that. Slowly getting better, but there's still a long way to go. Yeah.